on. But first, we found something on the delivery that night when we wanted to take the car out at night. We did notice something was wrong with the taillights of the vehicle, so I'll show you right now. So we turned on the lights and we realized that none of the lights in the back were working. We did notice that the brake lights were working, and then I did notice that none of the lights on the inside of the vehicle is working, and I'll show you guys right now. Okay, let's lower the windows because it's hot. But if I turn on the lights here, none of the lights here in the instrument cluster or those gauges seem to work. As you can see, the front headlights there are working, but as we come to the back, none of the lights here are on. And we did notice and we found under the hood, obviously there does have a tail lamp fuse here. So we did pull this fuse out and we did notice that the fuse was blown. I replaced it thinking, hopefully that was it. Unfortunately, it was not. As soon as I turned on the lights, you can hear the fuse immediately blow. So we ended up checking all the lights in the back because we did notice that they did have some LED light bulbs here installed in the car, and it's actually some inside the interior, and the license plate bulb is all LED. We actually unplugged each bulb, kept putting in fuses, it kept blowing, so we ended up unplugging the harness that goes to the rear taillights just to see, and it kept blowing. I didn't have enough time at that point in time, so then we had to redo the diagnosis, which that's why we're doing today. So we're going to start with the license plate bulb. We're going to unplug that one because that is LED and that's not part of the harness for the taillights. It's still part and connected. I'm going to remove the bulbs on the inside of the vehicle to see, as well as I found a forum, and hopefully because we have an aftermarket radio, it's possible that maybe there's a ground or the dimmer switch is causing a short into it. So I'm just going to unplug the whole radio system, put in the fuse, and then see if it blows. If it blows, then we're going to have a bigger issue. So if anyone out there can find a wiring diagram or a workshop manual, that would be great, because I haven't been able to find one with no luck. Okay, so we took out the license plate bulb. Now we're starting in the inside, and as you see, again, it's LED there, as well as that over there, which is pretty simple. Literally, all you have to do is pocket screwdriver, and there's a little opening right there. You just pop it out, and the same for the front. So it should be pretty easy, and as again, you can see LED. My guess is that they were working on whoever changed it, because obviously you wouldn't put them in and then your lights on the inside of the vehicle not work. So my assumption is it can't be that, because obviously then the guy would have probably put it back to stock, hopefully. So my assumption, maybe it's the radio or the instrument cluster or the switches over there. So it seems like once you pop out the little glass here, which is, you can see the indentation, you just pop that out. There's a bracket here, so we're gonna take out this bracket. Should be able to get then to the bulbs. All right, so it took me a minute to figure this out, and I wish I could show you guys, but unfortunately I'm just videotaping at this time with my camera. I don't have my GoPro set up yet. So as you can see, there are little tabs here. Let's see if it focuses. Yeah, those two tabs. So you have to twist it because this locks it in. So you have to move this down into this opening right there, and then you're able to slide it out. Let's see if I can show it with one hand. So you see that tab right there, we go. Right there, you see that tab, how it slides in. That's what locks it. So you slide it and then twist the whole bulb there. There you go, like that, and then it should come out. Oh, well, the whole thing came out. So we were able to get it out. Like I said, you just have to twist it. Unfortunately, that one was broken, so I'm gonna have to replace it. At least it tells you what kind of bulbs. At 12 volts, 8 wattage, so we can see if maybe we can find an LED bulb around here that's the same. So now we're going to start taking apart this radio area. Now I know you just twist this off. This panel then comes out. This actually just comes out, which I got to figure out why is it so sticky here. There's a screw right there. And then I saw that you have to remove here and here. Once this pops off, there's screws, and then everything should pop out. So just like that. And once I get it out, I'll show you. All right, so we got this part off first, and as you can see, there's screws there back there, but again, we need to take that off. But I just wanted to note, so when I popped the panel out, I noticed this connector was unplugged, which is part of the main harness. I don't know what this connector goes to, but this one seems to go to this switch here, which it didn't work. I didn't even know what that power steering switch is. I'm assuming it's for the rear wheel steer. Now I'm gonna plug it in to see if all that works. Who knows? Now, as you can see here though, a part of the radio, there is a wiring mess. They obviously tapped into the power of the cigarette lighter and whatever else back here. So I do gotta check this out and figure out what is going on here, because some wires here are cut and broken there. This is all together. There's literally a fuse here, it seems like. So all this is a wiring mess that I'm gonna have to try to sort and figure out to see if this is all just part of the radio, which wires mess up. That's why I'm just gonna unplug the whole wiring here on the back of the radio to make it easier to see if the short is going to the radio. If the short then is from the radio, then it has to be obviously one of these wires that we don't know what's going to. Okay, now to pull this, I'm using a pry tool. And once I pop this, as you can see, it just popped right out. So I'm gonna try to unplug this. And as you can see, there's probably a pin there. I'll use a pocket screwdriver or something just to take it off. Okay, so yeah, once you press this down, it unplugs, pretty simple. And then you got 2 screws right here. And then hopefully this radio surface should then come out. And I might take out this cluster, because when the lights weren't working, I didn't realize, and I thought maybe it's just the bulbs for the instrument cluster and this gauges. I had both LED bulbs for them. I found a form online of which bulbs. I'll show you them once I find them in the house or where I put them. And I'm gonna put them in and see, but I wanna make sure these work, because who knows, they might be LED already. And we'll take a look at that. So I went through and took off those 2 screws. I thought this was separate, but as you can see, it's a whole unit. So there is the 2 screws that's right here, which, by the way, not that tight. So obviously it was clearly recently put in, or just not a lot of force used. Makes it a lot easier, thank God. Once the screws are out, the radio comes forward, and then obviously there's a whole bunch of connectors here. So you just push down on these tabs and they should just come out. Obviously it's hard with just one hand, so we'll stop it and then I'll show you once the radio and all this is unplugged, and then we can look back here to see what's going on. Okay, so after a million connectors later, we got it out. As you can see, there's a short cord harness here that looks like it's plugged up, which just seems to plug in to this way, that goes then this way. Hopefully I remember where all 4 of those go. A quick disconnect here from one of the wires here, which again, hopefully I remember which one was what, because I just unplugged it without checking the wire color. So that might just screw me later. But as you can see, it's a whole harness. Everything's plugged up. I guess everything is in. So I'll take a look at that. If I'm not mistaken, if I read right, there is a dimmer switch also here. So the dimmer switch should probably be part of this harness. And if I'm not mistaken, it is supposed to be, I think, blue and red. I gotta double check my notes. I definitely took a picture because I read it somewhere that said it. So we'll take a look at that to see if maybe that's what it is. But I'm gonna unplug this. I'm gonna put in the fuse and see what happens. Okay, so now we're gonna count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 down, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 from the bottom, which I can already tell which one it is because we've changed it a bunch of times already. So this is the no good fuse there. Put in a new one. Now we're gonna turn on the lights and let's see if we can hear it just blow. And right there, you heard it. It's pretty obvious. It's still blue, which now tells me that it has nothing to do with the radio. So now the guess could be the switch. There is also another dimmer there, down there, or it could be the instrument clusters or something in there. So we're probably gonna put back the radio together and then see what it is. All right, so after a long grilling process, obviously this was pretty easy to come out. So we unplugged that. Well, while I have it unplugged, I might as well just change the bulbs since I have them. None of them are LEDs, so I will. What happened, Charlie? You wanna come help me here find this short? So right now I'm working on trying to get the instrument cluster out as well. Now I did notice there's some more aftermarket stuff under. There is like 5 or 6 screws. As you can see, that's bolted up. This should then just pop right off. pop that off. That should give me easier access. So then take off the screws that's there and pop this forward. And I did notice they did have an accessory port here for the cigarette lighter, which would be back there. There's an extra port back there. And this was plugged in. Now I don't know where this goes into. I thought it went into the reader, but the reader actually goes into the radio. I noticed the wire for the reader comes up under around here, and it actually plugs into the radio. So that makes it interesting. I thought maybe is that it might be for something else, tracker, maybe one of these up here that then come down and around. I don't know exactly what it is. There's a lot of stuff obviously with buying a used car from somebody else, and obviously it's from Japan, so we don't really know too much, and there's not a lot of information out there, so we're just discovering as we go. And hopefully once we get the instrument cluster, we'll put the fuse back in and check. If it still blows, then my only other options would then be this actual stock switch here, because I will unplug this dimmer switch right here as well, just to make sure. Okay, so after you take off those two screws, it kind of just pops out. Be careful, there is a connector that goes to the back side here for some reason, and there's also a hose that goes back there, so be careful. I don't really understand. It's a breather hose and just a random connector, so probably different models probably actually have something that go to it, and they probably put a dummy, and then now there's just 3 easy screws, and then the cluster should just come out. So to take out the instrument cluster a little easier, as you can see, it's kind of stuck behind the steering wheel, so I am going to remove the steering wheel just so I have more space to pull this out, so then I can unplug it, because this doesn't come out any further. It's not like it goes down any further. Okay, once the steering wheel is off, as you can see now, there's a lot more space, and I can get here, unplug it, and take a look. All right, so we got this out, and I noticed, there's different colors, obviously, and I did notice that all the speedometer colors here, it looks like they have, I guess, covers over the bulbs, so they turn blue. That's cool. We're gonna, while I have it out, I might as well replace it, even though I don't know how they look stock. Obviously, it's cool that they did change the coloring. So I'm assuming any of these right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, are probably all blue. And then all these are probably regular, which you probably leave regular just because they're the actual, to let you know what's wrong lights, and they should probably be regular colors. Okay, now the last thing I want to unplug is the dimmer switch here, because you don't know if maybe the dimmer switch is also the cause. So luckily this just actually kind of just pulls down. Obviously the whole thing comes out. I believe you have to take the screw there and screw there, but we're just unplugging this. So I'm gonna unplug it, put another fuse in, and see what happens. If it blows, then I have more of an issue, and then I don't know where to go from here. And if anybody has any suggestions of what it could be at that point in time, because we checked all the lights, checked everything in here that I can think of, all these that seem to be powered by that tail light fuse, unless there's another fuse or somewhere else that it's possible. Now I did also notice there was also random ground here on the harness that was just open kind of, so it was possible that even though it was taped, that it was touching maybe the body ground here, and there was another wire, this one here, that even though it's spliced into this harness, this was also just open with the metal piece, which could have contacted there. So hopefully it's one of that, and something that simple, or something where you wouldn't think of. If not, then again, we have a big issue. And if anyone has any suggestions or help, or have had this issue where they've gone through this extensive and hasn't found anything, please let me know in the comment section. So once I popped this out, actually just took the switches out. It was actually easier, so that way you can get your hand in there. So you press like down on those tabs and they slide forward. No, this actually, I don't even know what this does, so if anybody knows, that would be great to know. I have no idea. It is a factory part, so that's that. And here's the dimmer switch. So hopefully maybe it's one of these things, and it's something as simple as this. Well, might as well go ahead and see. Pop the fuse in. Nothing's in. Let's see, we'll hear it. Nope, it blew. So that tells me there's something else going on somewhere in the harness, or somewhere that I'm not figuring out where. Now I did have the taillights unplugged at one point. I don't have them unplugged now. I have one fuse left, so maybe I'll unplug that again and just see. So in my last attempt with my last fuse, which I'm gonna go and probably buy more fuses. I unplugged the whole harness at least again to make sure to cut off all the taillights, just to make sure I was not wrong. I unplugged that. I swapped the tail lamp relay with the AC relay. Maybe the relay was sticking. Swapped those over, turned the lights on. Unfortunately, they still did blow. Now I did find there's a fuse box under there. I'm gonna show you. There's a fuse box under here, and I did find one of the 10 amp fuses blown here as well, as you can see. So I'll probably go and get more fuses, put this fuse in and see if that fuse blows along with that fuse when the lights turn on. But at this point, I'm kind of at the best of what I can think of what it could be. The way it's looking like, it could either be this switch, which is possible, but I highly doubt it since it's not blowing something else, or that's about it. I don't really know. It has to be then somewhere in the harness, somewhere's touching somewhere. That obviously, even when I just turn on the lights, it's blowing the fuse, and it has to do none of these modules. So that's very interesting. Again, if anybody has any ideas, please let me know. Well, if you stayed this long in the video, unfortunately, I did not figure out what the issue was. Again, like I said a couple of seconds ago, so if anybody has any ideas, please let me know, because I can't figure it out, and obviously it might be a wiring harness issue, which is going to take a long time to try to figure out. I'll keep you guys posted or whatever I find. If I do figure it out before then, before I post this, I highly doubt it. But I'd like to thank you for everything that you guys, as you watch this channel and watch it grow, as the car will grow with me. And thanks. Like, subscribe. See ya.